Whenever you're ready.
Okay, can I get can you guys raise your hand if you think it's okay to kill someone? Okay,
Some people.
can you guys not raise your hand? Okay, well, I'm here to talk to you guys about capital punishment and how it should be abolished from the whole country and especially California, since we live here. And I believe it should be abolished because it violates the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution, and it is very expensive, and because of religion, it violates that too. So that's what we'll be talking to you guys about. Okay, well, let me start off with the story. So in North Carolina, in 1970 something, this lady, Velma Barfield, killed her husband. She poisoned him, and then she got convicted for murder. And then when she was in prison, she confessed to 3 other murders, and one of them was her mother. But yeah, so she did that. So then, and while she was in prison, she turned to the Bible. So she became all like a nun. So she loved Jesus, and she found Jesus. And she even counseled and guided fellow inmates and turned many into Christians. And then she obviously turned to God for a reason, because God was the only one who, I guess, would forgive her. But later on, she filed for appeals because she was on death row. But she filed for appeals, and even her inmates and a lot of people helped to get the governor to stop it. But unfortunately, it was denied on November 2nd, 1984. I feel like that's sad because she turned to Jesus, and Jesus wouldn't want her to be killed. One of the commandments is thou shalt not kill. So I feel that's a major reason why the government should not kill people, even though they did commit crimes. But this might not be the only story. Other people find Jesus in jail. Other reason why, this goes to California and the death penalty. I'm going to give you guys some statistics by Judge Arthur Alapron, who did a study in 2012. Since 1978, when we reestablished the death penalty in California, California has spent $4 billion on the death penalty, and there's only been 13 executions since 1978. $1.94 billion on pre-trial and trial costs for death row inmates. $1 billion on incarceration. And capital trials here are for death penalty, and non-capital are for non-death penalty cases. And capital trials cost more than $1 million more. They are roughly 10 to 20 times more than murder cases not involved with the death penalty. And housing inmates that are in death row are $90,000 more a year. In 2010, California alone spent $7 million on housing inmates, which I feel is a lot of money for having this institution here in California. And this is just California. I'm pretty sure it's high in other states. But he also proposed some ideas. He said to change eligible crimes for the death penalty to 5, since right now there is 39 crimes that are eligible for the death penalty. And that would roughly save $55 million. And yeah, that I believe that alone should stop the death penalty, because that's a lot of money. Raise your hand if you think that's a lot of money spent on the death penalty. I threw in some $1 billion in there, that's a lot of money. That can go for a lot of other things California needs. Railroads. We don't use railroads no more, actually. But anyways, the last reason why I think this is a bad thing is because it violates the 8th Amendment, which says excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. And killing someone, that sounds bad, but that's what it is very cruel. And the government should not do that since it's in the Constitution. And this is a quote from William Brennan, the Justice of the Supreme Court in 1976. He says, "Death is not only an unusually severe punishment, usual in its pain, in its finality, and its informity, but it serves no penal purpose more effectively than a less severe punishment. The fatal constitutional infirmity in the punishment of death is that it treats members of the human race as non-human, as objects to be toyed with and discarded. I therefore would hold that the death penalty today is cruel and unusual punishment and violates the 8th Amendment." And yeah, so those are my major reasons why I believe the death penalty should stop. Also, recently in California in 2012, there was a Proposition 34 that would repeal Prop 17, which established the death penalty. And this is what would have happened. It unfortunately was not passed. But hopefully now you guys can vote and it will pass. But it would create $100 million, and the funds will be distributed to local law enforcement to solve other crimes and other agencies where they can use it wisely on other things. And the people found guilty of murder would have to work in the prisons, and their wages would go to the victims' families. So, and it would save a lot of money. $170 million a year it would save, and in 20 years it would save $5 billion. But it was not passed, like I said, so it was close though. 48% said yes to approve it, but it was not. But I leave you with that, and hopefully the next election, you guys see this prop and you guys approve it to save money. And because we all are Americans and we should follow the Constitution.
Maram, you were going to do the oral evaluation, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought your attention device was really good, and you gave a preview, which was really helpful. You knew your information pretty well, and you had lots of good reasons, and I like that you gave some history on the subject as well. And it was good how you gave benefits of not having the death penalty, like how people could save money, as well as the other things you said.
All right, well, I'm going to disagree with you in a couple of ways, but there's some other things that I agree with you on. Let's start with the stuff that I agree with you on. I thought that you had a very good preview. I like the fact that it sounds like it's going to be structured from the very beginning. It did feel a little bit like it was not as organized the same way that you set up in the preview. The first thing that you mentioned in the preview is that the death penalty violates the Eighth Amendment, and that's the last thing that you talk about at the end of the presentation, so that was a little bit inconsistent. But there was a structure that was not too difficult to follow, so I thought that went well. I didn't care much for the attention device. I think audience surveys are a terrible way to get the audience's attention at the beginning of the speech, especially when they go as awkwardly as this one did. So that's, a good illustration about why that doesn't work as well as it could. I think you were probably better off by starting with your story about the woman in North Carolina. Use that as your attention device, but also get the facts a little bit sharper so that you know what year it was. Make sure that you've got the events in order. Tell the story there. My guess is that you picked up information from reading about this and you're trying to summarize the information, but I'll bet that there's a passage in the article that you got this information from that has a nice summary of all of that with a nice emotional kick to it. That would work better as an attention device.
I actually was going to do that in the outline. Use that as my attention device.
I think that would have worked a little bit better. You make a pretty good argument for the economic issue. I think you do kind of conflate the costs of imprisonment and trial a little bit with the death penalty, but you also have some information that talks about how it would be different. For instance, at the end you have an estimate not at the end, but right there in the middle you have an estimate about how much we would save if we just had these 5 capital crimes that people could be sentenced to death for. Of course, that you're talking about saving all the money because you basically say we should abolish the use of the death penalty, so there would be additional money on top of that, but we know how much was based on the incarceration issue and the execution issue. That's a little bit different, and I thought that piece of information helped you get to that. I did like the fact that you cited a lot of information in the presentation, especially on the financial issues, so that helps quite a bit. All right, thank you.